Entitled college roommates were mad I didn't cook for them, and they wanted me to pay for the ingredients. I refused, and they threw my stuff in the trash. I debated telling this last story after the whole saga with my mother-in-law and ex-wife, but I mentioned it before so many times that I may as well tell it. But it will probably be my last post here. I know it seems I dealt with a lot of terrible people in my life. I suppose I was just a magnet for it. My terrible mother, my terrible ex-wife, my terrible mother-in-law passed away before becoming my ex-mother-in-law, my bad co-worker that gave out my phone number to my mother, and lastly, some bad roommates from my college days. But beyond all of that, I haven't really dealt with much anyone else of note. Guys, in case you're wondering, this Redditor is someone whose stories I've read out quite a few times over the course of my channel. If you've been around for a while, you'll probably get one of the references they've just made there to one of the stories I've narrated. But this is a brand new one. Let's get into it. OP says, I've got good friends, a good job, and I'm physically active. But there were times I was just drawing in narcissists. Hopefully no more. Back in college, I had to deal with 3 bad roommate guys for 6 months. It was community college, so no dorm. Just a rundown apartment that looked right out of the 80s. I was balancing school and part-time work, so didn't have a lot of money. The funny thing is, I was literally the only one there who knew anything about cooking, much less did dishes. I wasn't one of those hardcore couponers, and there was really only 2 good stores in walking/biking distance. One a typical supermarket, the other a small discount food store. That's where I went the most. I was also no stranger to the local thrift store. My roommates mostly just ate junk food or whatever else they could grab that was already made. So, for obvious reasons, I couldn't keep leftovers. We also had fights about them not doing their share of the cleaning, but that was resolved later as well. 2 of these guys said they were friends before college, and the 3rd roommate fit right in with them for a while. The drama over the food first started when I made myself an egg sandwich for breakfast. 2 eggs over easy or medium with your choice of cheese, bread and mayo. It's actually pretty good and a solid breakfast. One of my roommates saw me eating it and asked for one too. I apologetically said no because I was on a tight food budget and the frying pan was already in the sink. He rolled his eyes at me and groaned. I told him they were easy to make them himself if he bought the ingredients, but he balked at the notion. Another day, I made mashed soft-boiled eggs for breakfast. That attracted more attention. It's eggs boiled just enough to where the whites are cooked, but the yolk is still liquid. You then peel the shell off and mash the eggs in a bowl with a fork. It can be easy to mess up, and I only really succeeded half the time, but it's great with just basic seasoning and sometimes hot sauce. I haven't made it in a while, but I like to eat it on toast and sometimes over rice. I also made egg salad from time to time. Eggs were cheap and basically $1 a carton at the discount store. I'm also not a big fan of cereal as I had to eat it a lot growing up, and I prefer a warm breakfast without a lot of sugar. No matter how much I told my roommates they could cook their own food if they let me show them how, they just kept complaining that I made food that they weren't allowed to eat. Even though they wanted to eat good food at home, they were completely unwilling to put in any effort. Compared to these guys, I was the only broke person there. They all had the latest gaming consoles and new laptops. One of them even had a car. I had an old N64 and CRT TV that were pity gifts from friends years prior, a GameCube that I'd splurged on, and a used laptop I got secondhand. My roommates were near constantly gaming, watching YouTube, and being general couch potatoes when not in class. Hang on a second here, OP. What's wrong with watching YouTube? That's what I did, and still do to be fair, for many hours a day. Anyway, let's carry on. Sorry, a little bit sidetracked there. I think they thought I'd be a pushover at first, but I'm the kind of guy that seems chill till you push me one step too far. And they did this by stealing my game systems and my food. Here's what happened. One evening, I made something good for my dinner. I don't remember specifically what it was, but it might have been tilapia fillets. I ate those a lot. I even made them into spicy fish burgers. My roommates all ganged up on me over how their dinners always sucked unless they ate out. I mean, maybe just cook something nice then? Sorry to interject again, but like, just pull your finger out. If you want some nice food, make it. No one's going to make it for you. You've moved out of home now. It's insane. Anyway, microwave food all around for them on many nights. And they wanted me to finally make something nice for everybody. I told my roommates that, okay, if they each kicked in $5, I'd make us all a nice spaghetti dinner the next day. They agreed. My biggest mistake was not collecting the money from them in advance. So you're just asking for $5 from them to make a lovely meal You know, they don't have to put any effort in and they just get to enjoy it. But okay, I see where this is probably going to go. I went out and got some ground beef, a jar of sauce, a loaf of garlic bread, the noodles, and canned green beans for a side. I whipped up a great dinner, but when I wanted the money from each of them, they laughed at me and refused. They played what they did off as a joke. When I didn't accept that answer, they told me they were sick of me flaunting my cooking around them and never sharing it. I gave them all the finger and told them I'd never cook for them again, and I stuck to that. They actually tried several more times, oh my goodness, the audacity, and I always refused. They even offered to pay me again, but still refused to pay me for the first time, so I'm sure they would have just pulled the same stunt again. Money or no money, I had my pride, and I meant it when I said I'd never cook for them again. They started acting like kids whose parents wouldn't feed them around me, and were pretty angry when I called them out on it. I wasn't obligated to be their caretaker. I didn't know what kind of homes these guys came from, but they certainly weren't used to not getting their way. Yes, exactly. I mean, we all know. I can picture these guys right now. I can picture myself even having a conversation with them. I know what they sound like. I know what they'd say. I know they'd just be like the biggest golden children ever. So stuck up. So spoiled as kids. It's just so obvious. Stop flaunting your cooking around us. It's unfair. It's the most insane thing I've ever heard. One day, I came home from work and found all my food missing from the fridge and cupboards. And none of my roommates were home. I was furious and I couldn't even confront them. So I just tried to go and play video games to unwind. But my consoles were missing. I lost my mind. I went to see an acquainted neighbor living in one of the apartments down the hall, and I asked advice from him because he was the one who sold me the GameCube. He had an evil idea and said that he'd use his digital camera to record my roommates when I confronted them, if I wanted, but only if I paid him $20. I didn't really have a choice but to agree. When my roommates finally came back, they were all smug, until they realized their gaming consoles and laptops were all missing. They flipped out, threatening to kick my butt, but I held my ground and told them I wanted my stuff back, or I'd never tell them where their stuff was. It turns out they bagged up all of my food and threw it in the dumpster outside a few hours earlier. Then they hid my game system and TV somewhere in the building before taking off to a party. I asked them why they did that, and they claimed it was because they'd been drinking all day since it was a weekend, then tried to say it was just a stupid drunken joke, while also telling me that I'd gone too far. I laughed and said they were enormous hypocrites and a-holes to say I went too far after what they did. I just got even. One of them looked like he was ready to hit me, and I drew all their attention to the nearby window. That's when they all saw our neighbor outside the window recording everything with his digital camera. He gave me an okay and took off down the fire escape before my roommates could do anything. I told them that guy just recorded their entire admission. That was bullying, theft, and underage drinking since we were all under 21 at the time. I told them I'd take that recording to the dean if they didn't make things right, because they wouldn't like having that stuff as part of their records. It was well known a couple of girls had been ousted from the college for roommate bullying the previous year, and of course drinking while underage is also a huge no-no. They all looked like the colour had drained from their faces. I told them I wanted my stuff back now and the cost of my food reimbursed. It was their move. They all took off outside as fast as they could. They came back with my game systems and games in a garbage bag and even retrieved my food from the dumpster and expected me to just take it. But I refused to touch the food because it had been in the garbage for hours and I'd only accept cash. Additionally, they dropped my TV and it was broken, so I wanted that replaced too. They all hemmed and hawed but finally asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted a new TV and $60 cash from each of them. They asked why that specific number. I said $50 each to replace my food they tossed, $5 each for the spaghetti dinner that they'd reneged on paying for, and then what remained for having to pay a guy to wait for 2 hours outside our window in the cold to record them. They all got their wallets out and begrudgingly gave me the money. They'd all previously bragged about how they had parents and scholarships footing their bills, so they easily had the cash. After getting paid, I told them where to find their stuff I'd hidden, and they stopped bothering me. One of them had a small flat screen TV in his stuff, and just gave it to me to replace what they broke. And then we called things even. But after that, they avoided speaking to me if at all possible. though eventually they all started getting on each other's nerves since I'd ruined their fun. They also never brought alcohol into the apartment again for fear that I'd snitch, and they did try to harass the guy I'd paid to record them. He said he'd take the recording to the dean himself if they bothered him again, so they were SOL to do anything about the situation. When the lease renewal came, 2 of the roommates opted to move out of the building because they and the third guy now hated each other. Yeah, they all hated me, but the 2 that left were especially the worst. But they liked each other just fine. Didn't bother to keep tabs on them once they were out, and the few classes we had together, they kept away from me in. And the one roommate that stayed actually made some improvement as a person, and made sure to tell the new guys who moved in not to mess with me at all. One of them was actually pretty cool though, and he liked cooking simple home meals like I did. He also liked Nintendo and bikes. He became my best friend and still is to this day. We even still play Mario Kart together when we can, and took up cycling together again once I separated from my ex-wife. He's been my greatest support ever, more so than any family I've ever had. Also, for those wondering where I'd hidden my roommate's stuff, I hid them all in their own suitcases that were already put away in the closet, which would have been one of the last places they'd have looked. They were all so annoyed it was all right there the whole time. Okay, there we go. That is the end of that one. Wow, what a story. And you know, I just feel bad for this Redditor, because you guys will know if you've seen any of my other episodes that have stories in from this user. They've been through the mill, I think, to say the least, in their life. And yeah, you know, they've finally gotten away from their parents, their horrible family, get to college, and you just met with horrible roommates like this. It can't get much worse. I mean, this is literally the definition of entitled people. Just like, I can't imagine doing this at all. It's just so crazy. Obviously, I went to university. I was in a dorm of my own, I suppose. People cooked different stuff. Some people cooked together. Some people cooked separately. Whatever. It was all chill. One thing that nobody ever did was say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that you're cooking a lovely meal and not making any for me for free. What are you doing?" Like, it just didn't happen. I don't understand how somebody can genuinely think like that. That's insane. And the funniest bit about all of this is saying it's actually unfair that you're doing this in front of me. It's just not right that you're doing this. I'm getting jealous to the extent that you need to stop doing this. It's very weird. Like, if you care that much, just learn to cook and just make some meals yourself. But I don't particularly love cooking. In fact, I would actually say that I don't dislike it. It's all right. I don't know, can't be bothered a lot of the time. But if somebody was making a lovely meal in front of me, I wouldn't tell them to stop because I can't be bothered to make nice food. That's insane. It really is. And then on top of that, OP offers them to like, you know, an olive branch. Okay, I get it, guys. You don't like the fact that I'm good at cooking and you can't be bothered. But give me the money for the ingredients. I'll make us a nice meal. We can enjoy it together. You don't have to do anything. Just literally pass me a note of paper and you'll have a meal in front of you. You guys don't care about money anyway. You've said it. You've got rich families, whatever. And it's clear they have rich families that haven't brought them up that well. Let's be realistic here. But even then, no, they just take the mick out of you. Disgraceful people. And to be honest, I kind of wish that the dean had seen this stuff, because they've had no real repercussions from this, have they? Yeah, they've lost a bit of money, $60. But, you know, what is that really to them? That's not going to make much difference in their lives, is it? Whereas getting kicked out because of bullying your roommate would have done. They're not going to change as people, I don't think, because of this. So, I don't know. It's probably easier for you not to go through that ordeal of taking that footage to the dean. I just genuinely wish you would have done. That's me. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. Do you think that OP should have just gone further than they did? This isn't a revenge subreddit. It would have been good revenge. This is just entitled people. But yeah, maybe OP was a little bit too nice then, could have gone further. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hope you did enjoy this story. If you did and you want more right away, make sure to subscribe to my channel by clicking this button. If you're new and you want some more right away that you've not seen, check out this episode on screen, and I'll catch you tomorrow with a brand new story.